What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Hopefully your weekend has been going extremely well, but let's get into the update for today. First, I want to talk about what is really going on over in Russia. There's a lot of concerns, and I want to break down what's happening right now. We're also going to dive into how inflation has actually wiped away all of the stimulus money that the American people have received, and I also want to dive into a little bit of a stimulus update, what we're seeing and what Democrats are potentially asking for. At the end of this, I do want to address some vaccine and COVID news as well. I think I've been kind of missing on some of those things, so I want to address that at the end of this video. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can always ask your questions down in the comment section below. But let's get right down to it. Currently, there's a lot of stuff going on near the Russia and Ukraine border. Right now, the Ukraine President Zelensky, he wants the U.S. to impose sanctions on Russia immediately. However, that's probably not going to happen. Yesterday, he actually spoke with Vice President Kamala Harris, and she stated that if war is to happen, then us here in the U.S. will have to put ourselves out there, and we will most likely see energy costs rise. And she stated, and I quote, "We are taking very specific and appropriate, I believe, steps to mitigate what that costs if it happens." Now, when she said this, many people came out and bashed her because she's saying that the U.S. is going to take appropriate measures to mitigate what it might cost if we do go to war. Well, here's the issue. She hasn't done that. President Biden hasn't done that. Congress hasn't done that. No, the Fed hasn't done that. Nobody has actually done anything to lower costs for the American people, which is creating a major concern. Now, whether you believe Vice President Harris or not, this next report is something that you should believe. According to the Belarus officials, they are saying that Russia will continue their military drills for thousands of troops past their originally expected deadline, which was today. The Russian troops were supposed to do combat exercises. Well, they are going to extend this. This means that Russia is going to stay in place for the foreseeable future. This also means that everybody must still remain on high alert. Now, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, he said this morning that President Biden is ready to engage President Putin at any time in any format if that can help prevent a war. But I want to explain why this is so important, because I think a lot of people are wondering, why does what Russia and Ukraine do, why does that impact us here in the U.S.? Well, here's what we know. Vladimir Putin now has the world's attention, and this is what is creating chaos for the time being. Right now, people in the U.S. are putting their life's decisions on hold, major decisions, and they're waiting to see what happens, because what happens in Russia and Ukraine is going to get the U.S. involved. It's just going to get us involved. Now, people are wondering, should we buy a house? Should I pay off debt? Maybe I should decide to go back to school or have another child, or right? There's so many different things. Buy a car. People are putting off life-altering decisions because right now they don't know what to expect in the near future. And just keep this in mind, and let me know if you've done this in the past as well. But when the pandemic first hit in March of 2020, did you put off decisions? Were you thinking about, going and paying for a vacation, but then you're like, you know what? Let's wait and see what happens. Maybe you're thinking about, I want to buy a house, but then all this stuff started to happen, and you're like, that might not be a good time. We might see prices dip, right? And this is where our mindset is maybe we should wait, put off any life-altering decisions until we know what to expect moving forward. Because will there be a war? We don't know. Will we see the end of COVID anytime soon? Hopefully. Will home prices drop amid interest rate hikes? Well, they should, but chances are they won't. And will inflation fall back down to normal levels? Now, I really want to touch on this because this is something that it's extraordinary what we're seeing, and not in a good way. Did you know that just recently, inflation has wiped out the entire value of the stimulus checks that we received over the past 2 years? Most Americans received $3,200. It was $1,200 in April of 2020. It was $600 in January of 2021, and another $1,400 from President Biden in March of 2021. Now, that $3,200 has been wiped away due to food, which is over 7%, right? Gas is up over 40%. Utilities is up 24%. Shelter up 4.4%. Even medical services are up 2.7%. Now, experts say that on average, a family will spend roughly $2,641 per person on food per year. So, a family of 4 during the past year would have seen an increase of almost $750 in their food costs just in the past year. Now, we're 2 years into the pandemic. So that right there, that $1,500 would have almost wiped away the first 2 stimulus checks. The $1,200 and the $600. That's $1,800. The first 2 checks would almost be completely wiped away just due to the fact of food costs rising. But that's not all. That isn't all that has risen, right? Gas, utilities, everything more expensive. Rent. Yeah, I didn't even include rent or mortgages there, right? I didn't include it. And so that's what many experts are saying, is that our 3 stimulus checks that we've received did almost absolutely nothing. Now, I do want to address where Democrats stand on stimulus checks, but at this time, I first want to provide an apology. Now, yesterday I released a video, and in the title it said $2,600 checks. Now, many people were upset, and rightfully so, saying that I was tricking them into thinking that they would be getting a check. And I understand through the title, okay? But and again, I apologize for that, okay? That wasn't my intention. In my video, I was very clear, very specific, that a specific state would be sending out stimulus checks of $2,000 to certain individuals. Right now, there's no talks of passing another stimulus check on a federal level. States are trying to do their part, and I'm trying to help as well. Now, after I posted this video, I actually received an email from somebody saying that they didn't know that this was there. They live in New Jersey. They believe they qualify, and so they're going to apply. Now, this is why I talk about smaller bills on a state or more localized level, because, I want to help the masses, but I also want to help the little people, the individuals, the people from specific cities or states that could see some stimulus or some relief. So again, I apologize for misleading some people. If I did, I'll try to do better in the future. Okay, I just wanted to issue that apology here publicly, because again, that was not my intention. But let's get to where Democrats stand with stimulus. Currently, the economy doesn't need any more stimulus, and Republicans believe this, and Democrats, many believe this as well, that we don't need to introduce too much because it would cause inflation to increase, but we still need to provide more. This is why Democrats aren't pushing directly for stimulus checks, because again, stimulus is more so for the economy, but Democrats are trying to push for relief bills. This includes things like the child tax credit payments, affordable child care, student debt forgiveness. These are just a few of the things. Now, here's what we know. Republicans aren't against providing relief, but they have been very clear that it needs to be extremely targeted to places and people that truly need it. They want to ensure that right now no new money is being spent to pay for any additional relief, because many Republicans want funding from mask mandates and other legislation to simply be repurposed and spent on areas of the country that need it the most. So, in the coming months, what we need to look for is look to see where money is just sitting, because that's likely going to be the first place that lawmakers target to try to repurpose funds. We've already seen them do this in the past, with previous COVID funds. They spent about $500 billion. The money sat there, and then they took that money back and repurposed it under the American Rescue Plan, right? So a lot of stuff here. Now, we could eventually see more go to the American people through social spending programs, but at this time, Congress would first need to pass a bill that would actually increase tax revenue by taxing billionaires. And this is something that Senator Kyrsten Sinema is completely against. Now, Senator Joe Manchin is trying to get her on board and wants her to reconsider, but at this time, it doesn't look likely. We do know California, though, lawmakers have actually proposed a 1.5% tax on their state's billionaires. This is a new thing that came out just recently. So we'll see what ends up happening here, or if this thing with California actually goes through. What I can tell you, though, right now, everybody's kind of just sitting, waiting. They want to wait. What's the Federal Reserve going to do? What's inflation going to look like? What's going to happen with Russia and Ukraine, right? Are we getting out of this pandemic? Everybody's waiting for answers. And again, it's going to turn into a waiting game. And if this gets too close to the election, chances are nothing's going to pass. But let's get to a little bit of vaccine and COVID news for today, because currently what we are hearing is that the FDA is considering a second booster dose of the COVID vaccine. They say they're always looking at the emerging data to try to figure out what is going to be best for the American people moving forward. Right now, they say they would likely consider another dose, not now, but potentially in the fall of 2022. They say this is most likely going to be when the next surge of COVID comes through. Now, we still have to worry about additional variants. We still have to worry about more cases surging across the country. But they say as weather gets better across the country, it starts to warm up, people move outside. What's going to happen is COVID cases will drop. That's what we saw last year. That's what they're anticipating this year as well. So that's what we know regarding COVID and regarding stimulus. If you got any questions on any of this stuff, you can always ask your questions down in the comment section below. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.